I was thinking. Once I was in a bar, and only once, because hey, you can buy a machine-washed glass of beer pumped through rusting pipes so old they've moved more watery lager than Mel Gibson's remaining kidney, or you could buy a six-pack of Kestrel, a sherbet dip, and a ride home on the omnibus for the same price. And I voiced the opinion to some great big phony who thought he was cool for wearing a shirt over jeans and a weird form of counterculture facial hair. Wait, what? That Twitter was a load of rubbish, and he said that I only thought that because I hadn't invented any social media platforms and I was just jealous. And there went my house of cards, my secret was exposed. I just mock things because I'm jealous of their brilliance. I take it all back, finger pants, cat personality tests, Windows 98 and nipples for men. But you know what, despite the title, in many ways I do quite like Twitter. In the same way a mother may love a son who isn't dangerously irresponsible or anything like that, but best not leave him with a baby in case he tries to teach him bowling again. I use Twitter almost every day, and I have in the past operated accounts for various projects and sideshows leaning on the dark side of dull, and those accounts, although with different audiences, all were created to publicise various guffage as their primary directive, like the Autobot who published Kim Kardashian's book of selfies or Simon Cowell. But because I'm not Jay-Z or Beyonce, I follow almost everyone who follows me, and I'm constantly following new people, and that's important to note because unlike the Dalai Lama or my dad, I'm not just following people I remotely am interested in. And speaking of which, my dad's Twitter has only one tweet from several years ago asking a rhetorical question about the sanctity of cricket, I'm English don't you know, and the shameless charade that is our political system, almost as if he'd used the platform to break a 10-year vow of silence before going down to Downing Street to immolate himself. But because I'm following new people all the time, it's not as though I'm talking to a niche of people I can get to know, the way Harry Potter may exclusively use Twitter to follow and talk to other agoraphobic fantasists, or the way people in Norwich might tweet to each other about what the hell they're going to do when they close the bus shelter. Secondly, I do use Twitter socially, I talk to people, I look at content people post, and I use it for finding weird websites and blogs that have been pushed off Google by lists of weird websites and blogs, thank you BuzzFeed. So Twitter, like welding your windows and doors closed, does have its advantages, but it still kind of sucks, and I think that because there are facets of it that I really like, and if you're listening to this and you're a Twitter user, you're probably not the problem, please don't unfollow me. You see, the real problem I have is 90% of Twitter isn't Twitter at all, but instead just some garbage. As if someone has emptied a public trash can over the street to get to the unopened bag of Monster Munch at the bottom. I suppose really me saying Twitter sucks is a bit like me saying phones suck, because 9 out of 10 calls are robots trying to sell me building insurance when I've made it quite clear on multiple occasions that I live with a touring circus under the hot dog van next to the geek tent. Twitter is fine, it's just the content. Not only is it full of stuff I've seen before, retweeted by dozens of accounts clearly operated by the same possibly institutionalised lunatic, it's more spammy than a Monty Python themed tamper at an Anglo-Germanic sandwich convention. Yes, at Bumbleclot I did know that Jaden Smith has been reported as saying he's going to have his penis amputated when he's 18, and no it's not true, which kind of seems like an act of cruelty, but for God's sake that news was debunked years ago. And is it just me, or do the people who post 6 crazy things cabin crew members can do with tonic water, number 4 will blow your mind type links need disappearing by men who've been working with each other for years but only know each other's last name's initials? And you know what, buddy, I don't need to see a woman squirting her mustard over a sausage in your profile pic. I used to have a dog walking job in Hampstead and I've seen things you wouldn't believe. I'm not sure which is worse, all the pornography in my timeline from people with usernames like Neil, or all the racist, sexist hatred that reads like the signing in sheet for the League of Evil. I don't understand. Writing down your opinions is fine, but why actively seek out others with opinions opposite to yours and start arguing? It's almost as if Twitter is filled by people who are acutely aware but in fingernail-biting denial of the fact that no one gives a fuck what they think. Trying to change someone's mind on Twitter is like trying to explain to the Tel Aviv club that although the Holocaust was very bad, Hitler did do some jolly nice things, from 6 miles away, using only semaphore. It's just not going to work. There's a lot written about how the end of Twitter is nigh, and considering there are people who spent 4 hours every day for 10 years updating the world on their own asininity photos of salads and continued inexplicable existence, I have a Twitter by the way, please follow and retweet, it must be too big to fail. After all, where will the journalists get all the filler they've become so reliant on? And how will the BBC know that @Collywobbles thought the whole affair was no surprise? Sometimes it all leaves me with a taste of solitude, so if you want me, I'll be on my MySpace account. Goodbye. Just a thought. Oh, but you know, the thing about MySpace is that Yahoo bought it and then resold it at such a loss.